Hello, everyone. My name's Cade. I'm with Acadiana Planning Commission here in Lafayette. Thank you for joining us today. We still have a couple of people joining, but we can go ahead and get started. I am a regional planner from Houma, Louisiana, and I went to LSU for landscape architecture. And we are going to be collecting information on New Iberia today that is going to be used in an opportunity zone prospectus. So I'll go through a PowerPoint and give a brief presentation, and then I'll be looking to collect feedback from community members of New Iberia to get that information. Let's see, I'm going to be checking on my chat, and I see Coraline. Thank you for introducing yourself. If everyone else could please drop your name and affiliation, or something good about New Iberia maybe in the chat box, I would appreciate that. Okay, here is just a quick agenda of what we're going to be doing today. I'll give you an overview of Acadiana Planning Commission, and we'll talk about the prospectus, and then the methodology that we're using to collect this information. Okay, Acadiana Planning Commission serves the public sector in the planning and implementation of economic, community, and transportation development throughout the region known as Acadiana, including the parishes of Acadia, Evangeline, Iberia, Lafayette, St. Landry, St. Martin, and Vermilion. Invest Acadiana is an initiative powered by Acadiana Planning Commission and One Acadiana to promote opportunity zone investment throughout the Acadiana region. The purpose of today's meeting is to develop a community profile based on the input collected from the members of New Iberia. Goals of the meeting are to establish the existing stocks of the assets and capitals that constitute New Iberia's current wealth, determine the future desires of the community in terms of investment and development, place the power of decision-making in the hands of the community members, and discover the strengths of individuals and their capacities in the community of New Iberia to create an action plan that local organizations and partnerships can use to spur action. So, information gathered in today's meeting will be used to inform a prospectus of New Iberia. The prospectus will then be used to spark investment in the community and address the capitals that make New Iberia unique. The White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council up in Washington started this Opportunity Zone federal program, and opportunity zones are census tracts that were designated as low income by the state. And we have several opportunity zones in the Acadiana region. We started off last year with a One Acadiana and Acadiana Planning Commission developed a partnership. We're calling it Invest Acadiana. And it's essentially the goal is to promote our opportunity zones and attract potential investors to contribute to the economy in our region. So we started off with a regional Acadiana prospectus, and then we zoomed in a little closer to have a Lafayette prospectus, and then we went a little further into Lafayette and made a university corridor prospectus. We were recognized by Forbes as being one of the top 20 opportunity zone catalysts nationally, which is pretty big. And the Scott Turner from the White House Opportunity Opportunity and Revitalization Council, and his team came down here, and we toured Opelousas and the University Corridor in Lafayette. And they liked our prospectuses, and so now we are creating one for the towns and cities of Abbeville, Breaux Bridge, Church Point, Eunice, New Iberia, Opelousas, and Ville Platte. And we've been conducting these asset mapping meetings. I'm able to find some information on my own through individual research, and what I can gather from Google, but a lot of the information that is more subjective, that's what I'm looking to collecting information from the community members. And Janet in the chat, Janet Falconzales, says, I understand that we have 4 opportunity zones in Iberia Parish. Are those the zones that match with this initiative? Yes, exactly. So this is the methodology that we are using. You can think of it as the chapters of the prospectus, and how we are categorizing the things that we want to highlight about New Iberia to attract potential investors. WealthWorks is a model that was created by, I think it was the Aspen Institute. I'll have to double check. So what I'm going to do is go through each of these kind of briefly and give a high level overview of how we are defining these. And then we'll go back through and I'll ask a couple of specific questions and hopefully spark a conversation. And I'd love to hear from you at that point. So what do we mean by individual capital? That is going to be the skills and capacity, including health, that allow individuals to be productive. Investments in human capital include spending on skill development, education, training, and health maintenance and improvement. This is where we look at our industries and our workforce, our major employers, specific community interests, and health services. And as you can see here, we have Iberia Medical Center. Okay, our intellectual capital is going to be knowledge and creativity, innovation needed to solve problems and develop new ways of doing things. Investment in intellectual capital is through research and development and support for activities that increase innovation, as well as diffuse new knowledge of applications. It can come from sharing with other people and communities. So your education, your schools, work readiness programs, libraries, higher education, any kind of vocational programs that you have. Let's see, I have a comment in the chat. Commissioner for New Iberia Housing Authority and the Hopkins Street Economic Development District. Oh, just an introduction there. Thank you for joining us. We still have people joining in. Okay. Social capital is going to be the trust, networks, and inclusive relationships needed to get things done. Investment in social capital are those that lead to new conversations, shared experiences, and connections between individuals and groups, and or strengthen relationships within groups. So your religious organizations, your Rotary clubs, nonprofits, your networking groups, any kind of keep the streets beautiful programs, your organization and event planners and things like that, that we would like to highlight. Okay, then we have our cultural capital. And this one is very easy for South Louisiana and Acadiana as a whole. We have plenty of traditions, customs, festivals, and arts, theaters, and stuff like that. So it's kind of the fun stuff there. Natural capital is going to be your outdoor recreation, your parks, sports, water bodies, ecotourism, and as you can see here, we have the Isle of Iberia RV Park. Okay. Build's capital is going to be your stock of transportation infrastructure, your historic structures. As you can see here, we have the New Iberia Cultural District. So we'll look a little closer at this map and sort of the historic assets that you can tap into. Being in an opportunity zone and having these cultural districts is a great opportunity for investors. Your political capital is going to be your form of government, how your government or police jury works. We have a great relationship with the parish president, Larry Richard in New Iberia. We work with him on a lot of different initiatives, including the Louisiana Watershed Initiative, and your access to decision makers. So this one is a little easier for me to collect information on my own because normally the local governments will have good lists of resources and things on their websites. Here we have financial capital. That's going to be all of your economic partners that that play into this, and we have Miss Janet Falk Gonzalez with the Iberia Chamber of Commerce on the call as well, and thank you to her because she helped me organize this event and invite people, so thank you for that. And you're going to be looking at your banks. Obviously, we have to mention Iberia Bank here, being a major bank from New Iberia, which is pretty impressive. So that is the 8 capitals, and now we're going to go back through, and I'm going to initiate the conversation by listing off some of the things that I have found and having you, as the community members, correct me if I'm wrong or contribute things that I might not have mentioned, which there's probably a lot that I haven't been able to find on my own. So as mentioned before, we have 4 opportunity zones within New Iberia. And one major employer that I found was Universal Fabricators. Does anyone know about them or can contribute and tell me a little bit more about them? Okay, what about Iberia Medical Center? Does anyone have any specific thoughts, or can you tell me who were the major employers in New Iberia?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is Larry. I'm having a little bit of difficulties, but I think I got it now. Iberia Medical Center in Iberia Parish, we have an extremely good working relationship with them. The CEO is Dion Viator, very aggressive, trying to bring many more capabilities to our hospital here. What do you really want me to tell you about them? I can go as deep as you want or as minimal as whatever you want.
Would you say they're one of the major employers?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we want to highlight them with the focus on healthcare. Besides them, if I were to give like a kind of a blurb or a highlight to any specific employer from New Iberia, who would I be able to highlight in that way?
Are we talking employees only in the opportunity zone or throughout the parish?
I would say throughout New Iberia, even outside of the boundary, because if I'm an investor, I would, look to the outside of the boundaries of the opportunity zone to pull from the resources for workforce and things like that.
I mean, you have your businesses at the port, like the Bayou Pipe Coating and companies like that. That's really big in Iberia Parish and has been around for many years. Of course, I'm trying to think about um, your metal shock industries and companies like that we can actually pull. That would be one of the larger companies, revenue companies in Iberia Parish. Of course, Iberia Parish is truly or was truly an oil and gas company, an oil and gas parish. It still are. It's just that right now we having some a slowdown in that particular industry. What most people may not realize, the second industry as far as revenue in Iberia Parish is agriculture. And that is the second largest industry in the parish, but is the most consistent revenue industry in the parish. Oil and gas have a tendency to go up and down, as we all know, but agriculture here is not going down. It's just a steady, slightly upward trend in this parish. Now, I'm not exactly sure what type of discussion where we want to go with this here, so I'm just babbling along.
No, this is all great input, and a lot of these industries that you mentioned, I can highlight in our prospectus, and I was able to find from the NAICS codes.
Yes.
What the acronym stands for, but
NAICS.
Yep. The number one workforce industry sector for Iberia Parish from their codes was agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting.
That's right.
What kind of agriculture is going on over there?
Well, we have the sugar cane. That's the big deal here.
Okay.
They do all of the planting of the cane, and then they come later on in the year, and then they're going to do the harvesting. So right now we're in August, so sometime around October, you're going to see where they're going to start going up, and they're going to be, getting the cane up and bringing it to the mill and start doing the harvesting. That's a very big deal in Iberia Parish. It's a major industry, and to be frank with you, we talk about it a lot, but in one breath, we don't talk about it a lot because we have been so into the oil and gas industry for so long. I had a meeting earlier this morning with an economist from LSU, and we talked about the oil and gas industry, but we also talked about trying to figure out how to diversify here in the parish. And hold on a second, I got one of the senators calling. So we're looking at doing several things in Iberia Parish because, as you know, right now, the oil and gas industry is not what it was in the past. So I don't want to keep talking. I want to hear what y'all have to say, or else you want me to continue to talk, but I just don't want to take up too much of your time with your presentation.
Thank you, Parish President. In the chat box, we have a comment. Iberia Comprehensive Community Health Center is an employer in the region with centers in 8 locations across the state with a large facility here.
Absolutely.
That's great. And I do want to highlight more than just the main hospital. So I'm looking for information on what health services exist outside of the main hospital.
Well, Cade, this is Janet, and the question is huge, and it's hard to think about getting it answered in the amount of time that we have here. But also we have the New Iberia Research Center here, which is, a tremendous asset to the medical field in general. And I'm not exactly sure how many employees they have, but it's certainly a resource that we wouldn't want to overlook. And because of their presence, they're also attracting other, biomedical kinds of companies here. So I think that is a place certainly where Iberia Parish has resources currently and lots of room to grow.
Yeah, that's great. And I think I had a page allocated to the New Iberia Research Station in the intellectual section.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
but that's a great example of how the capitals that and the methodologies tie in together, right? Because that is a workforce capital and asset, but it's also, important to mention them as being leading in the research area. Somebody requested to see a map of the opportunity zone. So really quickly, I'm going to share that with you.
Which I just looked at them last week and find that they're very oddly shaped.
Yeah, they
And
are, aren't
yeah.
they? And that's, so here's the state, right? And then you can see the Acadiana region. And remember, they're based on census tracts. So, and then here's New Iberia. And our GIS guy, Philip Bro, has put together this cool map where it shows your opportunity zone boundaries. And it also shows your National Register districts, the East Main Street Historic District, and the Cultural District should be somewhere in here too, I think. And then you can click on these points and see the listings. Shadows on the Tesh here is one of them with some old pictures. So that's a map that we're going to be rolling out soon, and I'm just giving you all a kind of a sneak peek of it. Okay, so I think we covered industry stuff really good. I'm going to highlight the sugarcane industry. Um, and then another comment I want to make is that if you remember something that you wish you would have said during this meeting, we're going to be continuing to collect input beyond the meeting. I'll provide you with my email, and you can send that to me or give me a call and have a conversation. And these prospectuses are going to be living documents. So we are going to print a couple of them, but we want the digital version to not be static, and we want it to grow and evolve with the community. So that's a goal that we have for the prospectuses.
Okay, getting back for just a moment, this is Corleen with United Way of Iberia. Under agriculture, when Larry was talking about the folks involved in agriculture, I know that M.A. Patu and Sons has been around for many, many years, and I'm sure they would be happy if someone reached out to them to provide information on what our statistics are here in Iberia Parish as far as sugarcane agriculture goes. They're a long time sugarcane family there out in Iberia Parish.
Awesome. I appreciate that input. Okay, before we move on to our next capital, is there anything anyone would like to contribute to this portion of the presentation? Okay, I'm going to be moving on then. All right, intellectual capital. Let's see here. So New Iberia has 3 high schools. I think that's what I was able to find. New Iberia Senior High, Catholic High, and Westgate High. Is that correct?
Yeah, but what about Assembly Christian? Don't they have kids graduate from there and Highland Baptist?
Yeah, we have those also.
Okay.
They're parochial schools, but they're still they're in the proper
sure.
Iberia Parish area.
Okay.
Well, and then did you say parish or in the city?
For the high school portion, we're focusing on the city, but
Okay.
if there's higher education somewhere in the parish where that could contribute, then we'll want to include them?
Highland is definitely in the city.
There-
I think Assembly's outside the city limits.
But so is Westgate. So,
Oh, that's true also.
but they serve, you know,
Yeah,
The city, right?
yeah.
yeah.
And in addition, South Louisiana Community College has a campus here.
Yeah,
Right.
good. I'll highlight them, absolutely. And then is there a technical college?
SSLCC.
That's what that one is? Okay.
Well, it
Well,
has
it's not
both.
really. Yeah, exactly. It's both. Yeah.
I understand.
And you do or do not want to include the other high schools in the parish, because there are at least 3 more.
I think that would be a good idea to at least make note of them.
Laurelville.
Laurelville
sorry.
High School, Jeanerette High School,
And
and
Delcom.
Delcom High School,
Okay. Awesome.
and of course Assembly Christian School.
And this might be the time for me to state how unhappy I was with the opportunity zone. And what I mean by that, I personally think that it's too late, of course, we have to wait the 10 years, but the opportunity zone, in my opinion, should have grown. And I know it's based on census and all kind of things, but we have areas in Iberia Parish that I felt that should have been included in here because of the type of development and growth that we're looking to do in the parish. And if it would have been in the opportunity zone, then it certainly could have helped a lot. But I had to get that out because that's always been a major concern of me. So I'm finished with that.
And Larry, you're not the only one who has expressed that same concern. And as you said, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So moving on with intellectual, I know I found New Iberia Library. So if I'd like to have a conversation with the director of the library and get kind of a list of their resources that they offer and their programs.
I can, whenever you want, I can give you a name and number. You can call me later or however you want to handle it, and I'll give you her name and contact information.
That would be great. Now, does anyone know of programs that exist within the high schools that set people up for jobs, job readiness type programs or dual enrollment?
Yes. Yeah.
No, you go ahead.
No, I don't know all the details about them, but I know that we do have dual enrollment, and we do have the National Career Ready certifications from the Career Center.
Okay.
I think it would be important if you reached out to the guidance department at each of the high schools for a list of exactly what programs they are providing to their students. We could always call the school board office and get the contact names and numbers for those guidance counselors at each of the schools.
Okay, thank you for that. And then you mentioned the career services. Is there like a job readiness type?
We do have a career center out at Acadiana Regional Airport, the base. We do have a program out there, and I think the people that are eligible to go there are students who are having problems maintaining typical grades in typical courses. I think a large chunk of those kids are not college preparatory kids.
Okay.
Or their interest just doesn't tend to be a four-year institution. They're more interested in skill. And Cade, they do leave that program with something called an NCRC, a National Career Readiness Certificate, that indicates their aptitude in their given field and impacts the amount of money that they can make based on their level of certification. So
Okay.
it's a real important process, and the chambers actually leading a Work Ready Communities initiative. It's been a challenge for us to get that, for that to have the momentum that we really want it to have, because again, limited capacity, limited funding. You know, I'm working on that, but it's a big task, but it's something that's real important to, you know, not only students, but adults can also get those certifications.
Okay.
People who are in job transition.
And just to keep up with our chat, we have a few comments. You can also contact Iberia Industrial Development Foundation for questions about economic development.
Awesome.
Ms. Monique Boulay, our CEO of Acadiana Planning Commission, said UL Research Center at the airport. And we have a comment that says, I live in Census Tract 309, the west end of the city, and it has some great assets like 2 Asian grocers that serve as cultural and economic center for the regional Asian community, Bayou Electric, Iberia Community Garden, Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic Church, Louisiana Delta Railroad facilities. Okay, thank you for that. And a comment that says the Academy of Acadiana offers certifications in a variety of medical fields, non-4-year degree programs such as EKG Tech and medical coding. And she's provided a link. Thank you. Okay, I think that's been some good feedback. Is there any major intellectual or educational assets that we haven't covered yet?
I mean, there are, I don't know the right word, it's not smaller, but there are components of each of those that are outstanding. You know, our French immersion program at North Lewis Elementary is recognized by the French government and has some really high seal of approval from him that makes teachers from all over the country who are French speaking want to come to North Lewis Elementary, because it's a huge like notch in their on their resume to be able to do that. So within all of these organizations, there's some tremendous activity going on. So I don't know how we capture all of that in this phone call. So
Okay.
kind of, yeah.
United Way also provides the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which is pre-education. It's from birth to 5 years of age. We provide books on a monthly basis to children in our community under the age of 5, preparing them for those first couple of years when they get into their educational careers. That is supported through us and many of our community partners. And we also partner with Community Foundation of Acadiana and the Stellar Foundation to provide the Leader in Me program in several of our elementary schools in the parish. Elementary, that Leader in Me program is phenomenal, and it's turning children who have perhaps not the best foundation for their educational careers into little human dynamos who are very self-confident and very keen to learn as much as they possibly can, as quickly as they can in their elementary career. So those, I think, are 2 great assets.
Awesome. Thank you, Corleen. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on to the next capital. And once again, if you have something that you wish you would have said, then feel free to drop that in the chat. And Chad Lacombe with Acadiana Planning Commission in the chat box says, I would like it to encourage everyone to email more info to my email as part of the additional info that is important, that we have contact info for each resource, so that businesses looking to locate or invest can connect to these. Okay. moving on to social capital. This is where we're going to highlight our churches and our religious organizations and our social clubs, Rotary. So I'm looking to develop a list of these clubs. So do we have a Rotary Club in New Iberia?
Yes,
Okay, do we have a Kiwanis?
2,
Two?
yes. I'm going to offer you at this point, Kate, if you go onto the United Way of Iberia website, we, on our second page under the Who We Are category, we have a resource directory listed there. When you click on that button, it brings you to our resource directory. And I do believe we have a page somewhere in that directory that lists all of the social organizations, such as.
You were just the best. I really appreciate that. I found
Thank you.
that is going to be a very much.
It's going to help you a lot. I promise it'll help you a lot. And as a matter of fact, it is time for us to once again update that resource directory. We start working on that probably in the next 2 weeks, and making to make sure that all the information we have is as current as possible.
There's so much information in here that I'm going to be able to use. Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and I'm just going to read off the ones that I see here. The First Church of God in Christ. Oh, these are food pantries.
Right. We work with 7 or 8 food pantries in the parish.
Okay, I'm going to highlight that, and that's great. Let me find our. Okay, oh, here we go. I'll go through this in detail later, but I do see it covers a lot of stuff. Big brothers and sisters.
You can always reach out to me after this meeting or at any time. I will help you as much as I possibly can. We've been here since 1955. We've been doing this a really long time. And we've been very fortunate that most of the nonprofits in our parish reach out to us to partner with them to make sure that folks are getting their needs met. We have a wonderful, wonderful social service network in this parish. A lot of organizations are duplicates of services that are being carried out within other organizations, but when folks are in need, they have places for them to turn.
Awesome. Is there any offshoot networks or groups or nonprofits that might not be well known? Someone mentioned Envision DeBerry, local nonprofit, West End Neighborhood Association, Hopkins Street Economic Development District, Wat Thamartanaram. It's a Lao Buddhist temple, is the home of one of the largest festivals in the region, the Lao New Year Festival. That's great information. Thank you for that.
We have tons of cultural resources also in Iberia Parish.
Yeah. And I think that's a good segue into our next capital, which is the cultural stuff. So here I'm going to have a list of the festivals and major events that happen. So I'm going to rely on the community members to tell me which one they would like to highlight as a full page. I found the World Champion Gumbo Cook-Off. There's
Absolutely.
the Louisiana Sugarcane Festival. Do those happen in conjunction with each other?
No, they're about 2 weeks apart. The World Championship Gumbo Cook-Off is the Chambers event. And by the way, your photograph, I'm pretty sure, is the Gumbo Cook-Off and not the Sugarcane Festival.
I agree, Janet.
I'm looking for a particular tent that I don't see, but where that Coke booth is, gotta be the Gumbo Cook-Off.
Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha.
Also, the Lydia Cancer Association has a food fest 2 weekends before the Sugar Cane Festival. It takes place pretty much every year. It's a small organization, but they've been able to help a lot of cancer patients and their families over the last decade or so. And it brings in a lot of folks. The food is good, the music's great, ice cold beverages. There's always lots going on. So that might you want to reach out to.
Okay, awesome. And Chad just brought up a really great point. If anyone has any good photos for anything that we discuss, that's something that I really need help with. If you can send me over any photos that you have that I can use in this prospectus, I'll appreciate that.
Kate, from the tourist center, I know that there, I think it's called the Miles Agency that works with the Louisiana Office of Tourism, has just done a lot of aerial video and photos, not aerial. I mean, I think they're both, of every parish in the state. And I know that Iberia Travel has theirs in their possession now. Oh, I think Brittany's on. Maybe she could speak to that more. Maybe not.
I do in the chat.
Brittany, are you there?
Iberia Travel has a list of tourism and cultural assets. Someone mentioned Bunk Johnson Jazz and Heritage Festival, the Brown Sugar Music Festival, and the Lao New Year Festival. Again, thank you for that. And then Brittany actually contributed in the comments. She says there are numerous small day festivals and events, but the primary events for the parish are the Books Along the Tesh Literary Festival in March and April, the Delcombe Shrimp Festival in August, the Louisiana Sugarcane Festival in September, the World Championship Gumbo Cook-Off in October, the Louisiana Festival Español de Nueva Iberia in November, Shadows Plain Air Art Competition in March, and the Lao New Year and Easter. There are multiple arts and crafts fairs, the Brown Sugar Music Festival, etc. That's great. I really appreciate that. And then someone said there's a photo gallery that I can use from Iberia Travel. So thank you for that. Okay, this is great.
You can add farmers markets to that
Absolutely.
list if this is the right place. Delcombe has one where I know they've done a count and they get 600 to 1,000 cars there every time they hold an event, and they have a regular schedule. And then there's there are more than that one, but that's been important to our community as well. I know Panat can also speak to what's happening with the community gardens better than I can. And that's an awesome activity as well.
Okay. And then Iberia Cultural Resources Association puts on many events in the parish, including several Acadiana Symphony Orchestra performances. And a link was provided to iberiacultural.com.
We are the only location in Acadiana that has an outdoor symphony performance.
Really?
Yeah, and it's beautiful.
That's great. Ooh, and I'm checking our Facebook live stream for comments too, and someone mentioned the Festival of the Live Oaks at City Park. Okay, I think that we've got to.
We don't suffer for not having events. That's for sure.
Yeah, it seems that way. Is there any major cultural things that might not be explicitly festival related that anyone would like to mention? Okay, we're going to be moving on to natural capital. So I have here the Isle of Iberia RV Park. I took that screenshot from a really cool drone video where they fly over the water park and then they move into the RV area, which was very cool. I know there's a couple of lakes within close proximity to the area, like Faust and Spanish Lake. So could anyone tell me? Oh, and I did find the Iberia Parish Parks and Recreation Department, and they have a good blurb about how they operate 14 parks throughout the parish, totaling almost 400 acres of green space available to the public. So from your voices, what kind of outdoor recreation, sports and outdoors type opportunities are there?
I don't have
So-
video.
I was just going to throw out the Pepperplex. I think is something that the Louisiana Pepperplex is our community sports complex. It features baseball fields and soccer fields. It's a great facility, but it's unfinished. And so I think that there's a lot of great opportunities to put in some amenities or to continue building it out there, to continue to push it out there. That would really attract a lot of folks from the travel baseball, travel soccer, and local recreation.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
And there's
This is,
also
this
parks
is-
within the city government as well, a park
Right.
system.
We have beautiful parks in our parish and in our city. We have the newest is the George Rodriguez Park on Main Street, just down from Bulini Plaza. I think that must be our most recent opening of a park. It's a pretty little green space right in the heart of the city.
Awesome. Let's see. I've got-
David, this is David Dahlquist. I don't have video on. And hopefully you can hear me. Can you indicate if you can hear me?
we
We
can.
hear you.
All right, great. I'm representing the TESH project, the nonprofit organization that represents the Bayou Teche National Water and Paddle Trail. That is the 135-mile-long trail from Port Barre to Berwick, and New Iberia is at about the halfway point. The TESH project is in the midst of two major projects along the Bayou Teche National Water Trail, the installation of kayak and canoe docks, and we will ultimately have 15 of those positioned from Port Barre to Patterson. New Iberia will be having a new dock. We're also installing information kiosks in the 16 communities along the National Water Trail. The National Water Trail, the Bayou Teche National Water Trail, is one of 22 nationally designated water trails in the United States by the Secretary of Interior, the only one in Louisiana. As you are gathering information, I am able to provide quite a bit of GIS data, not only related to the Bayou Teche Water Trail, but the cultural, natural, historic, scenic resources throughout the four parish area. I just offer this, that one of the assets, not only of the Bayou Teche, but all of the recreation and parks and natural areas, as well as the festivals and cultural areas, they really, in my view, become workforce recruitment assets and workforce retention assets. In other words, they can become very much something that major companies for recruiting employees and retaining employees can use about the values of being here in New Iberia. So I'd certainly be happy to offer the data that we have. One of the other items that we're doing right now with the information kiosks is we're doing a lot of research on historic events of the communities. And so we're developing a lot of timeline information related to the Bayou Teche and the 16 communities of the National Water Trail. So that's just, again, another asset. And I'm happy that's part of what is being considered for these opportunity zones. Thank you.
Thank you, David. That is huge. So I am definitely going to give a highlight to the Teche project. That's great. I really appreciate that feedback.
Thank you.
Dr. Phoebe Hayes has also established the, I hope I get the name right, the Iberia African American Historical Society, and has done a tremendous amount of work highlighting the contributions of African Americans in Iberia Parish. We have several new markers up around town, and her work is, I think, real important to how we go forward as a community.
Okay, that's great. And just to catch up with our chat, monthly show tune sing-along live music event, Iberia Performing Arts League is a great community theater with lots of local dance schools. Thank you, Fanat, for that. And then, let's see, there are also various Christmas events throughout November and December, like the Very Berry Christmas Quest, carriage rides downtown, and parades in Delcom and New Iberia. And then Avon Burgess with Acadiana Planning Commission, he is our Vista volunteer, is with us today, and he specializes in park and recreation. He mentioned in the comment, the Conrico Company store and Conrad rice meal. Would they potentially qualify as agritourism? Or is their tour education program, can anyone tell me about them?
Well, they're the oldest working rice mill in the country, and whoever was about to speak, I'll be quiet and let you go.
Okay, I think that's gonna come up again in the built capital area, being the oldest working rice mill in the country. That's pretty cool. So we'll want to highlight that. Bayou Teche Museum has contributed that they're on Main Street. Thank you for being here. And Chad asked if we have any French tables, and there's a French table at Victor's Cafeteria.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Our attractions, the Bayou Teche Museum, Shadows on the Teche. One brought up the rice mill again. And then George Rodrigue Park, which Ms. Corleen mentioned. So thank you for that. The Avery Island Tabasco Factory and Jungle Gardens. That's huge. Jefferson Island Rip Van Winkle Gardens. The Shadows on the Teche Conservation Home and Gardens. Some of the same ones we've seen. Church Alley Park, George Rodrigue Park, and the City Park, which can be found on Iberia Travel. And then someone mentioned the Bayou Teche is the National Paddle Trail again. And Community Garden, Iberia Community Garden and the Berry Fresh Market host volunteers and eco-tourists from all over the world. They work in the gardens and stay in the Airbnb and find us through the worldwide opportunities on our organic farms. That's cool. WOOF is the acronym there, and it's good to know that they have connections in New Iberia. Church Alley Pocket Park in downtown, and 2 state parks, Cypremort Point and
Yeah.
House Park. So that's a lot. That's a lot of recreational opportunities and culture. I think we might need a bigger prospectus.
The city of New Iberia has a plan for, again, don't want to use the wrong words, but boat docks and marinas along the bayou in the downtown area, and there's some scattered around the parish. I think it's Lauraville that has already unveiled their new dock. So there's a little system being built there for kayaking, as well
Yep.
as bigger boats coming, maybe from the Gulf up the Bayou Teche.
Great, thank you, Janet. Okay, I feel like we got a lot of information on the natural capital. So we're gonna move on. And Chad in the chat box said, if you have any copies of plans, please forward that along to us. We can include that. Okay. Now we get to the built capital, and this one is huge. This covers all of your transportation and historic structures. So really quickly, I want to take this opportunity to go back to that map, that the Louisiana Office of Community Development standing structures and districts map. And I just want to show you the resources that you have in New Iberia. Let's see. So as you can see, there's all of these little historic points that are sprinkled as locally designated structures. And then you have a couple of them that are on the national list as well, like the Southern Pacific Railroad, ERAF August building, the Magnolias. So I'll be going through this and kind of finding some of that information. And then you have the East Main Street Historic District, which is a nationally registered district. The New Iberia, Louisiana Residential Historic District. The Downtown New Iberia Commercial Historic District. The New Iberia Commercial Historic District, and then this one is New Iberia West End Historic Cultural District. So someone from the state sent me this map, and I just think it's the coolest thing to be able to look at all of these overlaid with each other. We have a brochure about the National Register Historic District on Iberia Travel. Thank you for that.
I have one for you real quick. Are we focused on, just one quick question, are we focused within the city limits or the opportunity zone, or are we talking about those things outside as well?
I think outside as well.
Okay. So one that's not on there, and look, let me just say, these are all spectacular treasures of our community, and so I don't mean to move it to a different focus, but I do think that one thing we might want to keep in mind is that we have an airport right outside of, I think, the picture that you show there, and the reason why I bring up the airport is not only because it shows that under built things, but when you talk about history, I think sometimes we miss an opportunity to really show off our airport as a piece of history as well. It's a former naval air station. It's got some great buildings. It's got some great assets out there. That there are bunkers, ammo bunkers out there that a lot of people don't know about. So there's some history out there that I think might show. I hear people talking about veterans trails and things like that. Those may be some opportunities for us to look at in the future. And when on your slide it said examples were airports, and I just thought of that as a built structure that's an economic development thing, but could also easily translate to some of the things we're talking about culturally too.
Thank you, Mike. That's great. And that critical infrastructure is definitely something that we're going to be highlighting. And I was able to find the Acadiana Regional Airport.com, and it looks like they have a really well-established website that I can pull resources from as well. I know a lot of the smaller communities in our region have small private airports that it's hard to find information, so I appreciate that they have some good stuff on here that I can pull from. So in terms of infrastructure, and so we covered the airport, and someone mentioned the ports earlier. Am I correct? Is there any kind of, can someone tell me about that?
Mike?
Well, let me just mention, of course, the Port of Iberia is a major fabrication, shallow water port, a major economic driver for the parish and frankly, for the region. They're in the middle of deepening the channel out there that's called the AgMac project. That'll bring in a lot more traffic to our area. So from an development perspective, it's a huge.
Yeah, I'm on a call. I'm gonna call you as soon as I finish.
It's a huge.
I'm gonna call you right back. All right.
They have a lot of diversification too. I would also throw out the Twin Parish port for a couple of reasons as well. The Port of Delcombe, the Twin Parish Port District, it covers more than one parish, which is, gives it some strength in itself. But it also has an industrial piece as well. But it also has a very important cultural angle. There's a marina. There's also a great seafood farmers market that's associated with the port that sometimes triples the size of the town population when it's going on. There's also been quite a bit of focus on the port supporting traditional industries like shrimping and fisheries and things of that nature. And so I think it's a cool place, and I think it's a cool take on what ports can do in small areas. And so we may want to consider that to be, a cultural asset as well.
Awesome. On our Facebook comments, someone mentioned the seaplane landing strip at the airport. And then in our chat, Chad asked if we know any information on the tonnage passing through the ports, the economic impact of the ports.
But I will say this, just a little cool fact about the Seaway. It is the only, it's my understanding, it's 5,000 feet and it's lighted, and it's a water runway that accommodates pontoon aircraft. It's my understanding that it's the only lighted seaway of its kind in the continental U.S. So that is, we don't see a lot of traffic there, and I think I saw the airport was on as well. I love their comments, but it is I think it is a cultural thing from the perspective of it being the only one in the 48.
Awesome. We have a comment.
With regard to the Port of Iberia, and Mike could speak to this much better than I can, but one of the challenges we have about that port, it is that it's not a cargo port. Basically shipments aren't coming and going from there. It's a fabrication port. And so, we need some changes legislatively to get that recognized so that port can get more funding. But so I'm not sure that the tonnage question actually applies directly to the Port of Iberia. And Mike, if I'm wrong, fix it.
No, you did a great job. I can only move it a little bit more, and that is to say that because of because of the activity at the port, it's measured a little bit differently. If you go to the Port of Los Angeles, it's about big tons, a lot of ships moving in and out on a daily basis. And the Corps of Engineers and other investors measure it based upon that kind of traffic. The Port of Iberia may have a package come in, a multi-million-dollar package that creates a lot of economic development and activity, but that package may not go back out again for 6 months while it's being fixed and all. So So if you take the traditional port route and you put the speed bump across the canal and it counts ships going back and forth, at the Port of Iberia, it should be about the value that it brings, the value the projects bring, the value the projects bring to jobs. There may not be as many ships crossing over that speed bump, but the value of the packages to the economy is huge. And so I think what has to happen there is it just has to be measured a little bit differently. And when it is measured, it's a huge asset and one that it's Acadiana's port. And I just think it's one that really needs to be, we need to continue to focus on and develop out. Janet mentioned diversity. There are a lot of other ways that it can be diversified. And I know that the Port Board of Directors is doing a great job in evaluating those opportunities.
Okay, I'm gonna have to leave and drive to another meeting. I enjoyed it. I'll get the rest of the information from Janet.
Thank you very much for joining us, Parish President.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye. We have a comment in the chat that says the Delcom Direct Seafood Program enables customers to contact fishermen directly to get their fresh seafood at the dock. And regarding communications infrastructure, Conterra Networks has a private all fiber optic carrier grade network, and we are expanding in the Iberia Parish area to enterprise. We specialize in customizable solutions for enterprise. We do not do residential. Okay. That's another major thing to discuss is broadband and internet connectivity as an infrastructural asset. And then what I'm going to do is include a list of utility companies and their contact information. If I was to move into this area, how could I, get connected? We want this to be a bit of a one-stop resource where people can, have all those numbers and contacts available to them. So another aspect of built capital is accommodations and places to stay. And I think it's important to highlight the local bed and breakfast. So is there, does anyone know of a resource where I can go and find a list of these bed and breakfasts, or we could just name them?
Iberia Travel's going to have that. I don't know if Brittany's still with us anymore, but they would have that list.
Yeah, she and Celine have both posted iberiatravel.com.
Hello? Can
Hello.
you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. I was trying to see if I could set up my headphones to get it connected. That's why it had blanked me out for a little bit. Yeah, so on our website, iberiatravel.com, under the section where to stay, we have everything broken down into hotels, bed and breakfasts, cabins, and then campsites. And that's for the entire parish. We update it as often as we can, so everything should be updated on there, along with all the attractions. Yeah, I was just trying to type out as many of them as I could think of. We have a ton of events, but our calendar for the rest of this year, unfortunately, is reduced. But we could try to get you just a list from our database that does show a lot of the events that go on in the parish. I mean, there's hundreds of events. Those were just all the ones that everyone mentioned were just a few that, that go on every year.
Thank you so much for being here. And I think you've given us a lot of valuable input. And kind of, as you mentioned, it seems like we're only scratching the surface of some of the assets that are available. And I did find that list on iberiatravel.com, and it's pretty extensive, so I appreciate that.
And those do include any locations on Airbnb and VRBO and all of those booking sites like that as well. So besides just local people that rent.
Awesome. So we talked about the airport, the port, accommodations, some of the historic stuff, and connectivity. I think that covers it pretty well. Is there any major things that anyone would like to mention before we move on? All right. Political capital. Oh, somebody said trains. Okay. Do we have a pretty good train system in New Iberia?
We have a train depot that I think is it may be historic in its own right. I believe,
Historic or old?
and I think that it's a gem. And I think that if there were any upgrades to train transportation and train systems, it runs between along the route toward New Orleans. I think it's underutilized in many respects, and could be could be an even greater community asset than it already is.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And they also mentioned Amtrak. Okay, that's a good thing to note. Okay, moving on to the government stuff. I found the City of New Iberia's website, and that's a great resource to me. And as you can see, we have elected officials and the people joining our meeting already and communicating and contributing to the prospectus. So I think that's fantastic. Is there any specific input anyone would like to give in regard to the political assets of New Iberia?
I think our city government and parish government work very well together. I've said this multiple times. I'm 59, and this is the first 3 or 4 years where I can honestly say that it is wonderful how well they work together. They talk to one another regularly, and they share a lot of the same goals for our parish and our city. I think our area hasn't been in as good a shape as it is now in many, many years. We have a new leadership role in the sheriff's office, and I think we're all hoping for good things to come from that. And new leadership in our city marshal's office, and we're all thinking good things are going to come from that also. I don't envy the jobs they have to do, but they are working very well together. And
Okay, that's fantastic.
As far as I'm concerned, that's definitely an asset.
And
to
then
this area.
I'll have a list of the departments, the mayor's office, the community development, finance, fire, inspection, and permits, and I'll have that as a resource in the prospectus. So
Iberia Parish government has a wonderful website also. You can get a lot of information from that.
yeah, it seems like as a whole, the every website relating to New Iberia that I've been able to find has been very detailed and well put together. So that makes my job pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else before we move on to financial? Okay. So Iberia Bank started in New Iberia, which is pretty huge. So we're going to want to highlight them. And then this is where we list our economic partners. So that's going to be the Chamber of Commerce, the Tourist Commission.
Industrial Development Foundation.
Okay, that's good. Someone
You're
said,
welcome, Mike.
someone mentioned Iberia Bank is merging.
Iberia Bank has merged a few times, and I'm going to say something, and it's not to be ugly. It's just stating a fact. sometimes I think they forgot where they came from, how they started out. And that's because they've merged with banks that have no clue where even New Iberia is located on the map. They've grown significantly, and good for them. I wish we could all grow as significantly, but unfortunately, it's meant that our little community has gotten left behind in many ways. They still offer vital services here in our parish. It's just, you know, it's just sad sometimes they don't remember where they came from and who was instrumental in getting them where they are.
Mm.
They do currently have about 75% of the Iberia Parish deposits annually. They are huge. You know, I know outside the parish, but also within the parish. But Kay, their new name is going to be Horizon.
Okay. And then what are the other banks that we would want to highlight?
Community First Bank.
Okay.
They are very, very active in Iberia Parish. As a matter of fact, my office is located in their banking tower. I see that Erica Dees at some point in time was on this call with us. She has moved her offices into this bank tower also. They have lots of office space available, and it's very convenient. They're located on the corner of Admiral Doyle and, help me, y'all.
Lewis.
Lewis, thank you, Janet. Thank you. Boy, did I lose that. But again, I'm 59. I lose things. But Community First Bank has become a very active player in this community, and we're lucky to have them. Hey, Erica, I see you there.
Hey, Carly, thank you. Yes, I will second your thoughts on Community First Bank. I think they are a gem in Iberia Parish.
Absolutely.
And they really have shined through. I'm a small business consultant, helping business owners understand the financial side of their business. And through all this PPP loans and whatnot, Community First they really came forward and helped a lot of my clients that were non-customers. And some of the other banks that some of my clients banked with, you know, some of the loans weren't big enough, so they weren't really interested in helping, unfortunately. And Community First Bank really stepped up and helped a lot of my clients. And I think their story, the Community First Bank story, how they, you know, got started, I just think it was a true community effort, and they're still serving our community very, very well. I'm not saying other banks are not, but I do think Community First really shine during these tough times, and their story is just awesome.
I'm looking at their building on Google Maps, and they have cool lighting there at Community First.
Yeah.
One, right?
It's a pleasure to drive up. You never know what to expect.
Awesome.
Another growing community bank is First National Bank of Jeanerette.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Fanad in the comments mentioned Hopkins Street Economic Development District overlaps with 2 opportunity zones. Thank you for that comment. Let's see, is there any major bank information or financial information that we want to discuss before we move on?
They have regional banks and banking systems here, have several locations in New Iberia. Regions Bank has locations here in our city, and JD Bank has locations here in our city. Hancock Whitney, they're also have an office here in New Iberia.
Okay.
Kate, I don't know where this goes. I know it's not here, but it just did just occur to me. I'm not sure we mentioned that there is an Iberia Parish Foundation, which is I'm not sure what the technical term is, but it's an offshoot outgrowth of the Community Foundation of Acadiana. But there is a foundation for Iberia Parish.
Awesome.
I think they call it an affiliate.
Yeah,
Affiliate. Okay.
they're part of the group that helps us with the Leader in Me program in the elementary schools. I mean, there's projects available for the middle school and high school level, but we've only focused on the elementary school at this point in time.
All right. Let's see. This is we've done a bunch of these meetings, and I'll just say we've got this was the most participants that we've had attend, and this is the most feedback that I've been able to collect. So I really appreciate all of you.
That's because we love our town. We love our hometown and our parish.
I'm hoping that this prospectus that we put together is a tool that you can use and that will continue to live on and grow with New Iberia. Before we break up, is there any anything that anyone would like to talk about that we haven't mentioned yet that deserves a spot in the prospectus?
Did we mention local media?
No one's talked about that yet.
Okay. We have the Daily Iberian newspaper.
Okay.
And KANE FM 107.5 and AM 1240. It's simulcast right on Main Street. Both of them are on Main Street in New Iberia.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that.
You're
I
welcome.
can look more into that.
One other aspect, I don't know if it came up, but I think it would be important to an investor, perhaps. Recently, and this is probably within the last 5 or 6 years, our community became part of the Metropolitan Statistical Area, which is the census designation for the entire region. Prior to that, we were not, which caused issues in banking, and there's a whole financial area issue with that. But about 5 or 6 years ago, we were added to what's called the Lafayette Acadiana Metropolitan Statistical Area from the Census Bureau. That's an official census designation. So I think we might, whenever we're talking about demographics and how all that works together, I think it's good that we're seen as part of that metropolitan statistic, because not every community is.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike. Okay, I want to take this opportunity to plug our website at investicadiana.com. So I'm going to share that with you. So this is a resource where you can go and find information. You can contribute a project or look at our previous prospectuses that we've developed. And you can see here, there's the Iberia Parish community profile, which One Acadiana has put together. So this is a good resource, and I'll drop that in the chat. And then we also have our website, planacadiana.org. /opportunity zones. And this is where we're going to have more detailed information about the prospectuses that we're developing and the events that we're putting together, like these asset mapping meetings. I believe in October we have a pitch event that is being put together that's kind of like a Shark Tank style project event night where a select group of projects are going to be presented. Then Chad said in the group chat, it would be very helpful if we had a list of properties that are available and on the market in the opportunity zones. So if
Chad, to that point on that, I agree with that. It might be helpful for us to reach out at the state level The economic developers use a site called Louisiana Site Selection. I'm sure you're familiar with it. LouisianaSiteSelection.com. There's a number of different properties from all over, and they broke it down by parish. If we could reach out to them and maybe have them put an opportunity zone designation or some sort of criteria that breaks out the properties that are in the opportunity zone, that might be a central place where not just us, but investors can go as well. Just a thought.
Awesome. And we've had good participation on Facebook as well, just to point that out. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and feel free to, I'm going to drop my email right here in the chat box, and you can send me any kind of photos or information that you might have, and I'm going to put my number as well. All right. This has been great, and I really appreciate y'all joining me during lunchtime. Okay, we're gonna end the meeting now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Gabe. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.